everyone, it's Rose and welcome back to my channel. Today's video I'm going to be taking you through all the books I read in February and what I thought of them. I read a lot of books this month and I have a lot of opinions, so let me just show you one of the stacks. This is about half of the books I read this month. I have another stack down there, but it's too heavy to all put on one. I've got my notebook here where I wrote everything down. So I read 21 books in February. So the first 3 books I read this month were Dark Fae, Savage Fae and Vicious Fae by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti. These were all 5-star reads. They are so good. So their most popular series is the Zodiac Academy series, and these books, there are 5 of them. They're set 5 years before the events of Zodiac Academy. The premise of these books, it's dark fantasy romance. Elise's brother was murdered and she thinks one of the 4 kings of this school is responsible. So she hacks her way into the system, gets herself a place in her brother's place at the school, and she's trying to figure out who murdered him, why he died, because he was this honest guy and somehow it was a drug overdose or something. She doesn't think that's what happened. She doesn't know which one did it. She's falling for people. There's murder mystery, there's romance, they're all shifters. By the way, if you can hear snoring in the background, that's my dog. You are so loud. And the 4 kings, one is a serpent shifter, one's a lion shifter, one's a harpy, and one is a dragon. I read the first 3 books and I love them all. I rated them 5 stars, but the end of the 3rd book, I needed a break because I had to decide whether I hated it or loved it. That was a great start to February. And I read The Hiking Trip by Jenny Blackhurst and I rated this one 5 stars as well. This was sent to me by Tandem Collective. This is a thriller. It's set in past and present tense. In the past, there's a girl going on a hiking trip on her own because her best friend cancelled on her last minute, and she meets these 2 people who are brother and sister, and she goes hiking with them because they're also going on the trail. She falls for the guy. There's an argument. Next thing you know, one of the girls goes missing and is presumed dead. And then we're following 20 years later when the person who was charged for her murder has been released, and the person whose point of view we're following starts to get threatening messages and her kids will go missing, and it's like, oh, is it the guy that's in jail right now? Did he get out and is he coming back for me because I did something bad? But you don't know what she did. You don't know who she is in the story. I could have never predicted any of the plot twists. It's so fast-paced, it's so crazy, and so good. Then I did a 24-hour readathon, which I filmed and posted on YouTube, and I read these 4 books. I read She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quinlan, and I rated it 5 stars. It was so good. It's young adult, fake dating, enemies to lovers, sports romance, sapphic. It's what more could you want? So we're following Scotty, who is one of the only openly gay kids at her school. Her ex-girlfriend broke up with her to go to a different school where their basketball team was better. And her arch nemesis, Irene, who is a cheerleader, gets into a minor car accident with her and they have to car share. And Scotty has a plan. She's like, we need to fake date because we need encouragement from your cheerleading squad at our basketball games and you're popular and I will pay to get your car fixed. So they fake date. The ex might come back into the picture. The feelings might get a bit too real. It was so good. I definitely recommend. Then I read It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, and I rated these both 4 stars. So we have 2 sisters, Piper and Hannah. Piper is a spoiled influencer who hosts a party one time and the police get involved and her sister Hannah bails her out of jail, but their stepdad, I think, is like, right, that's it. When your dad got lost at sea, he left you this, I think it's a bar in a small fishing town, and I'm sending you over there for a month because you need to learn how to live a normal life instead of being so rich and entitled and spoiled. They go there and Piper meets Brendan, the grumpy fisherman. And he's like, no way is she even gonna survive a night here, and then she does, and then it's quite cute and it's a rom-com. Romance ensues, that's all I'll say. Hook, Line and Sinker follows Hannah and Fox. It's friends to lovers. Fox is Brendan's friend, Piper's Hannah's sister, and Fox and Hannah have had this friendship for like 8 months. And he likes to sleep with a lot of girls. He's never had a girlfriend, and he's never had girlfriends either. And he's like, I want to be around this girl, but I don't have any girlfriends, so what is this? And Hannah works for like movie, I don't know how to explain it. She's like an assistant to a director or something like that. She convinces them to film part of the movie in the small fishing town. She has nowhere to stay and she has to stay with Fox. and it's just very cute. And it was my favourite character out of this whole series, and Fox was probably Molly's favourite. So that's why it ended up being 4 stars, because I loved it but I couldn't stand him, although she made up for it. Then I read The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, and I rated it 4 stars. I'm still not over this book. So we follow a lot of different points of view. This girl whose husband died, and her husband's niece, who they've brought up since she was like 6, and she's now an adult at university. There's been a murder at the university, and her niece is like, I think it was my friend that's dead. I don't know where she's been, and the body fits her description. She goes back to help her niece. There's also this weird cult of maidens that follow around one of these teachers, and they think that he's killing off his maidens because bodies keep going missing. I still am not over the plot twist. This was going to be 4.5 stars until the big plot twists happened right at the end, and I was in shock. I honestly don't know if I could say I recommend it. Read it if you want to hear some crazy messed up plot twists. That's all I'll say. Then I read 5 popular BookTok books for a week, and I filmed that and posted that on my YouTube as well. Started off with The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This was 5 stars. It made me sob. I posted it, me sobbing, on my YouTube page, which was a lot. Writing style was beautiful. The ending was so sad. It's an Achilles and Patroclus gay retelling. And that's all I can really tell you. It was heartbreaking. Even if you don't know anything about Greek mythology, you can still read this. It won't confuse you. Then I read The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I rated this one 5 stars as well. It was so good. It was so cute. It was so fun. It's women in STEM. It's a rom-com. I feel like I explain these all a lot in my vlog, so that's all I'm really going to say. I would definitely recommend this. We have Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I read this and rated it 4 stars. This is a rom-com. It has a lot of chronic illness representation. It was really interesting to read about Chloe, who has fibromyalgia, I think. I love her and Red together. They're so cute. This was so good. Chloe's got a bucket list where she wants to do these things to get a life, basically, and she wants Red, the caretaker, to help her with the list. But he thinks she's always really rude, and then you find out that she's not being rude, and she can feel like she's gonna faint or she's in a lot of pain from her chronic illness. The first thing to go is her politeness, basically. You're very cute too. This is Pepsi. Your breath smells so bad, dude. Then I read The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, and I tabbed all the times she called herself small. This is a fake dating, enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers rom-com. I rated it 3 stars because it was funny, but it was way too cringy to rate it any more than that. This is one of the most famous BookTok books, really. And we have Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I rated this 5 stars. The second book is out now and I can't wait to read it. Change locations, just go with it. I don't know where I got up to, but Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score, very cute rom-com. It's also about learning to love after loss and learning to be able to open up and not feel scared about that. I read I Found You by Lisa Jewell and rated it 3 stars. I like Lisa Jewell's writing style unless it's how she used to write in the 2000s. So Alice is out walking her dogs and she finds a man on a beach who's been sitting there for the past like 36 hours, and she gives him a jacket because he looks cold. He doesn't remember anything. And she lets him stay in like, they have like kind of a cottage in the back garden, and we're following her and this guy who has no memory, and we're also following a woman whose husband's just gone missing. There were some crazy plot twists. If you want to read a crazy thriller, I would recommend Lisa Jewell. I wouldn't necessarily recommend I Found You though. I listened to The Science of the Girls by Pat Barker. This is another Achilles and Patroclus retelling, but it's told from the perspective of one of the women in one of the slave camps during the war. So whereas The Song of Achilles, Achilles is the good guy in it, he's kind of one of the bad guys in this one. You know, they're in a slave camp, so all the things you can expect for women to have to go through in a slave camp, it happens in this book. I rated it 3 stars. It was okay. I just don't think it was fair of me to really have read this just after The Song of Achilles. Should have taken a longer break in between them. And we have the Miles High series by T.L. Swan, The Stopover, The Takeover, The Casanova, and The Do-Over. Read with Loz on TikTok. Lauren so kindly sent me The Stopover a little while ago and I finally read it. So this series is about 4 different Miles men. They're all brothers and they own Miles Media. It's a multi-million-dollar media company, and each book follows a different guy and their love story. First one had the most drama-filled, entertaining setup ever, and that is why I bought the rest of them. So we follow this woman who gets on a plane and starts flirting with this guy called Jim. And then they have a stopover where, because of, I think, snowy weather, their flight gets delayed, so they have to spend a night in a hotel, and, you know, they end up hooking up and then they never see each other again. She misses an interview. She was really annoyed about it. And then 12 months later, she finally gets another interview, and she goes to her interview at a media company and meets the CEO, Jameson Miles, whose name is not Jim. It's Jameson. And it's that guy. I rated this 3 stars because it was really fun and really entertaining, but there is a difference between grumpy and just downright mean, and I did not like the way he treated her. But we met all the other brothers in this, and I was so excited for the rest of their stories. Which brings me on to The Takeover by T.L. Swan, which I rated 5 stars. We meet Tristan Miles, who is trying to take over this woman's company. And her husband died. It was his company, and he wanted her to run it so that their sons could take it over. She's got 3 boys. Hates him. She's like, why are you trying to do this? And then he suddenly falls in love with her. But her husband died 5 years ago. She's not ready to move on. She's not ready to bring anyone else into her son's life either. And there's a lot of conversations on learning to love after loss, grief, feeling like you're betraying your dead husband even though you know he would want you to be happy. And it was so good, so moving, so powerful, and so sweet at the ending. It made me tear up. I'm going to tear up again talking about it. This was a 5-star read. We have The Casanova by T.L. Swan, which was also a 5-star read because the plot twist at the end, oh my goodness. So Elliot Miles, this is kind of enemies to lovers. She really hates him, but they have this undeniable connection, and she wants to be with him in the end, but he doesn't want anyone to be seen in public with him because of his reputation. Also, both have fake dating profiles, and he doesn't realize that she's actually talking to him and they're talking to each other, and he doesn't realize it's the same person. He also really likes art, and he's been following this anonymous artist that he's been trying to track down for years, and he finally figures out who she is, and it's like, do I go and meet her now I'm in love with someone else? And then the plot twist is so crazy. This was so good. The plot twist is what made this book a 5-star read. And I'm currently reading The Do-Over by T.L. Swan, which is book 4. I'm going to be finished with this by the end of February, but I had to film this video a couple of days earlier. But this either has the potential to be a 4 or 5-star read. I'm really enjoying it so far. This is about the brother that has never been in a relationship. His other brothers start making jokes about how the fact he's never going to have a family because he's never going to settle down. And he decides to take 12 months off, get rid of his credit cards, all of that, and go backpacking. And he's like, when I come back, I'm going to be with someone who's going to want me for me. I'm going to fall in love when I have no money, and they're going to want me for me. I also listened to Our Stop by Laura Jane Williams, and I rated it 2 stars. The premise of this book is, you know, like misconnections, where if you see someone but you don't talk to them, you can write into the newspaper and be like, you were the girl with this, I was this. I wish we could have talked. It's about this girl who her and her friends are obsessed with it, and then one day they see an ad and they're like, oh my god, this sounds like you. And then it gets famous. They're like writing to each other, but they don't know who each other is, and everyone's picking up on it, and they're like, oh my god, is that Train Girl? When are they finally gonna meet? But there are just so many chances where they could have met and then they don't, and it just gets dragged out way too much. It got really boring, and I rated it 2 stars. I also listened to How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories by Holly Black, which is set just after the Cruel Prince series. It was a really enjoyable addition. And there we go. That is everything I have read in February. Overall, such a good reading month. I read so many books off my physical TBR. Normally I average like 5 because my Kindle is the love of my life. But I was determined to get through these, and YouTube has really been helping me because I like having physical books to show, so I like picking off books I already have on my shelves. I really enjoyed it. The next video I'm going to make is going to be my March TBR. I have so many exciting books I want to read this month. So that's it. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I will see you in another video, and I hope you have a lovely day. If you want to see more content from me, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much again. Bye!